Behind the German lines of World War II, an enigmatic emblem caught the eye. A crescent-shaped plate of polished metal hung around the neck and rested upon the chests of some of the Nazis' most feared soldiers. Gleaming and detailed with intricate engravings, it was worn with pride, symbolizing the wearer's unwavering commitment and chilling authority. This emblem, known as the gorget, marked the Feldgendarmerie, Germany's terrifying military police. Initially, in territories beneath the Wehrmacht's control, they were charged with seemingly straightforward tasks, overseeing traffic, managing populations, and quelling resistance. But as the war intensified, the weight of their duty grew heavier. By 1943, the bearers of the shining gorget were tasked with holding the line of discipline within the vast Wehrmacht. They transformed into the ultimate guardians of loyalty, the final bulwark against even a whisper of dissent. The meaning of the gorget soon darkened to serve as a stern reminder of the force that bound the German military's resolve. In the shadows, hushed voices began bestowing eerie nicknames that seemed to echo with a foreboding resonance. Terms like Kettenhunde, chained dogs, and Heldenklaue, hero snatchers, soon spread, turning them into looming specters of a wartime Germany that was on the verge of unraveling. Dramatic beginnings. The evolution of the German military police, known as the Feldgendarmerie, is a centuries-old story steeped in discipline, transition, and in some moments, streaks of unchecked power. Hundreds of years ago, in ancient German armies, the marshal, whose title draws from the Germanic words for horse and servant, upheld the order in the fields. Initially, he ensured the well-being of the army's horses, which was crucial for the movement of grand battalions. But with time, his role evolved, covering administration and military policing. By 1312, a royal proclamation granted marshals considerable legal power. In the 16th century, Germany borrowed the title provost from France. Defined in historical texts, a provost punished errant soldiers and oversaw miscreants, seamlessly acting as judge, jury, and executioner. 1577 saw the emergence of mounted police units in Germanic regions, recognized as police dragoons and hussar. Come the 18th century, King Friedrich Wilhelm I innovated, deploying his hussars less for battle and more for duties like apprehending deserters. By 1740, they formally embraced the expanded title Feldjägerkorps, undertaking roles from traffic control, message delivery, and safeguarding royalty. As their prominence grew, the troops diversified their tasks, delving into route mapping, investigations, and more, adopting pivotal administrative and military police duties. The 19th century dawned with shifts. The Prussian army in the 1800s unveiled the Gendarmerie, inheriting the former hussar unit's duties, notably their roles in both Napoleonic Wars. Subsequently, between 1810 and 1812, regions like Saxony, Württemberg, and Bavaria established rural police forces, inspired by the Napoleonic French Gendarmerie. As the fabric of Europe's geopolitical landscape shifted once more, the Feldgendarmerie would face new challenges and roles, echoing the tumultuous rhythm of a continent on the brink. New century, new duty. By the time of the Franco-Prussian War in 1870, they established former Feldgendarmerie units. From maintaining order, patrolling battlefields, preventing looting, and serving with field courts-martial to transport and traffic control, these units filled important gaps in wartime. After successfully concluding the short Franco-Prussian War, they disbanded the various military police-type units, and they would not come back for years. At the outbreak of World War I, the German army formally established about 33 companies of Feldgendarmerie, each comprising about 60 men and non-commissioned officers. Their primary duties included searching buildings and villages for weapons, enemy soldiers, and spies, patrolling battlefields, transporting condemned individuals, and more. Before the war ended in 1918, the Feldgendarmerie expanded to 115 units, mainly comprising former senior NCOs from the civil police and enlisted men from the cavalry who operated in three-man patrols. However, after signing the Treaty of Versailles, Germany faced new limits on the manpower of the army. Because of this, they disbanded all units, and in the post-war Reichswehr, Germany didn't have a dedicated military police branch. Regular soldiers performed all functions typically handled by military police. When Adolf Hitler came to power in 1933, he opened the floodgates for many Third Reich police formations to assemble, characterized by the often chaotic hierarchy of the German armed forces. Among the German police and security organizations were the Geheime Feldpolizei, Heerestreifendienst, Marinekostenpolizei, and once again, the Feldgendarmerie were reintroduced. Distinctively, this military unit trained its members comprehensively in infantry tactics. Yet they weren't just soldiers, they were granted sweeping police authority, frequently collaborating with the secret field police and regional military and civic leaders. As the Feldgendarmerie honed their skills and authority, rigorous training programs were soon established, setting the stage for a more organized and fearsome force. Building the elite military police. In Potsdam, near Berlin, the German Feldgendarmerie inaugurated their specialized military police school to train their growing force. Following the occupation of Czechoslovakia and Poland, additional training schools also found homes in Prague and Litzmannstadt-Gönau. These academies ensured an exhaustive curriculum, thoroughly covering areas like the criminal code, specific police powers, forestry laws, fishery and waterway rules, traffic regulations, industrial protocols, passport procedures, identification processes, local culture, first aid, administrative practices, weaponry drills, marksmanship, self-defense techniques, criminal police methods, and even air defense systems. The training intensity to become German military police was no walk in the park. Spanning a year, these courses saw significant dropouts. In 1935 alone, out of an enthusiastic 219 trainees, only 89 saw it through. After their initial tests, candidates would join a Feldgendarmerie unit to get hands-on experience. These fresh units underwent rigorous infantry training and were entrusted with sweeping police responsibilities. Additionally, when civilian policemen transitioned into the Feldgendarmerie, they were accorded military ranks, mirroring their previous positions in the police hierarchy. With well-trained personnel and an efficient command structure, a unique uniform design would soon symbolize their authority and prestige. A centuries-old symbol of power. The Feldgendarmerie, while adhering to the conventional Wehrmacht aesthetic, incorporated several standout elements into their uniform. Touches of orange-red piping gracefully highlighted their peaked caps, collar patches, and shoulder accessories. Their uniform's upper left sleeve displayed a standard Polizei pattern eagle surrounded by an intricate oak leaf wreath. The brown cuff on the left sleeve stood out as a distinct feature, accentuated with gray trim and decorated with Feldgendarmerie inscribed in silver Gothic font. However, the crown jewel, setting the Feldgendarmerie apart, was undoubtedly the duty gorget. This crescent-shaped metal pendant, a defining element of the Wehrmacht military police ensemble, took its design cues from medieval protective gear, specifically the steel collars employed during intense jousting bouts, and bore a resemblance to designs also prevalent in World War I's Feldgendarmerie. The curved plate, made from sheet steel, showcased a central national emblem, securely held by prongs, juxtaposed over a somber gray scroll with the word Feldgendarmerie written in Latin script. A modest steel chain let the gorget dangle around the wearer's neck. Despite earning them the nickname Kettenhunde, or chained dogs, due to their notoriety among regular German soldiers, the gorget would soon become a powerful emblem of authority and control. Every front, every duty. From the very outbreak of the war, the German Feldgendarmerie played an indispensable role, serving in every theater. Each field army of the Wehrmacht was complemented by a Feldgendarmerie battalion, which typically consisted of 3 officers, 41 non-commissioned officers, and 20 men. Armed with Walter pistols tailored for civilian police use, they also boasted heavier weaponry, including MG-42 and MG-34 machine guns, frequently mounted on their various vehicles, from motorcycles to field cars. Beyond standard military police duties, the Kettenhunde were often entrusted with occupation roles in territories under Nazi control. Their tasks in the areas behind the front lines were multifaceted, from managing traffic and local populations to the more ominous role of apprehending enemy stragglers. Moreover, Feldgendarmerie personnel were vested with the authority to search individuals and property. They could also enlist the assistance of any other military or civilian personnel. In the aftermath of direct combat, the Feldgendarmerie seamlessly transformed into temporary town police. They tackled guerrillas, gathered refugees and prisoners, ensured the surrender of civilian weapons, and marshaled civilian labor. They were held to the highest standards. If a Feldgendarmerie officer strayed from this exacting code, he would face a swift return to his original duty station, branded with shame. But their influence was not limited to these tasks. At times, their very uniforms would play roles in the larger theater of war. Disguised deception. Because of the nature of their duties, the Feldgendarmerie possessed the complete authority to pass through roadblocks, checkpoints, and secured areas. These men also possessed seniority over every other soldier, up to their own rank, whatever the branch of service. However, this authority became a double-edged sword in one particular instance. In the midst of World War II, on the island of Crete in Greece, the United Kingdom's Special Operations Executive executed a daring operation, the kidnapping of General Heinrich Kreipe, the new commander of the German forces there. Unbeknownst to Kreipe, Allied forces, especially Major Patrick Lee Firmer and Captain Bill Stanley Moss, were closely tracking his movements. With the aid of Cretan partisans, the duo devised a plan to capture the general and transport him from Crete to Egypt. The mission was fraught with danger, yet they had a couple of aces up their sleeve. Most notably, they secured Feldgendarmerie uniforms, complete with the iconic gorget, granting them a deceptive authority. Using this disguise, they established a fake checkpoint near Kreipe's Gnosis residence. As his car rolled up, they sprang into action, subduing the general and his driver in a matter of seconds. While the Kettenhunde uniforms were pivotal in the abduction, they were equally vital for their evasion, allowing them to drive through several checkpoints despite the prevailing curfew. However, the hatred that the Crete general unintentionally fostered might have been their greatest ally. Unknown to the British, Kreipe was particularly unpopular among the Feldgendarmerie. This widespread aversion likely slowed the Nazi response, giving the kidnappers a significant head start. Navigating treacherous terrains and dodging German patrols, the team eventually made it to the southern coast of Crete. There, they discreetly transported Kreipe to Egypt, striking a potent symbolic blow against the enemy. From hero to hated. By 1943, as the tide of war began to turn against Nazi Germany, the Feldgendarmerie found themselves shouldering a grim responsibility. Tasked with maintaining discipline within the Wehrmacht, they were now assigned the harrowing duty of taking down deserters. Consequently, they bore the weight of determining the fate of tens of thousands of their own countrymen. As the Wehrmacht's public support dwindled, the Feldgendarmerie's harsh and indiscriminate enforcement against soldiers garnered them another pejorative nickname. They were soon dubbed the Heldenklaue, which translates to hero snatcher. The Feldgendarmerie relentlessly scoured everywhere, from columns of refugees to hospital rooms, in their pursuit of potential deserters, often consigning the most beleaguered personnel to frontline combat. Moreover, the Feldgendarmerie oversaw the Strafbattalions, or penal battalions. These were punitive units reserved for soldiers who had faced court-martial and been sentenced to deferred execution. As the Third Reich's days became numbered, even minor infractions could land recruits or soldiers in a Strafbattalion, directly under the watchful eyes of the despised Kettenhunde. With the Nazi Empire's foundations shaking, the Feldgendarmerie increasingly found themselves on the front lines. Despite their infamy, many of them were recognized with various military decorations. As the weight of Allied forces pressed upon Germany, a reckoning loomed on the horizon. Arms at rest. After Germany's surrender in May 1945, they systematically dismantled many Third Reich government organizations. However, many members of the Feldgendarmerie, particularly those who escaped Soviet capture, found themselves repurposed into policing roles by the Western Allies. One officer from the United States 101st Airborne Division remembered delegating Feldgendarmerie to stand guard over German officers who were tasked with overseeing German prisoners of war. It was a role reversal that would have been unthinkable just months prior. A further account, seemingly more intriguing, mentions the British 8th Corps in Schleswig-Holstein. They reportedly assembled a full regiment of Feldgendarmerie to ensure discipline and order within demobilization centers. Consisting of 4 battalions and a staff battalion, this Feldgendarmerie Regiment Corps comprised all volunteers. Among them were former police personnel. They were distinguished by an armband displaying the title Wehrmacht Ordnungstruppe, translated to Armed Forces Order Troop. These men were fully armed, and their compensation was not monetary, but instead took the form of enhanced food rations. In June 1946, more than 12 months after the official end of World War II, whatever men were left from the Feldgendarmerie became the last of the Third Reich units to surrender their arms, ending the grimmest chapter of military police in German history. Thank you for taking this deep dive into history with Dark Docs. If the story of the Feldgendarmerie intrigued you, hit that like button and comment below. Explore our vast archive, and don't forget to subscribe to Dark Docs and our related channels. With fresh content every week, you don't want to miss what's next. Stay tuned.